Hey guys, we're back. I've got my got Beowulf, but we're doing some Macbeth. So it's not going to be really any different. I'm going to be playing the CD player and I'm following along on the textbook. Now, you don't have the textbook, but you can go to Shakespeare Online Macbeth, and it has word for word and lines on there. So I want you to go to Shakespeare Online Macbeth, and I'll put that on Google Classroom that you can go there. It also gives you some extra information. It explains things, so it'll be more helpful. So we're going to go through the study guide. If you don't have the study guide, I didn't have it electronically at home. So I took pictures of it and then I put it on Google Classroom. So you can't type on that, but you can pull that off or take pictures of that. And then remember, we are writing down the answers anyway. And so you can still continue to do that. If you have a study guide at school that you've already started, you can make an appointment to go in and get your materials from the school. So if there's something you need to get, like I've already started my study guide and I have Acts 1 and 2 done. I want to get my notebook or I want to get something else, and it's at the school. You can call the office, make an appointment, and go in and pick some things up. So I suggest you do that. So I hope you guys are doing well. But let's go ahead and do some Shakespeare. So the very first, in a sense, for attendance. So every time you log in, we're going to have this, in a sense, it's going to be like a quick response. And I want you to do that quick response. So you don't have to go ahead and do the actual full assignment right away. I mean, it makes sense, do it so that you keep all of your work. I'm not even know what I'm saying. So that you do get your work done. But so for attendance purposes, we do like a quick response. It's like an exit ticket. So at the end, I'll ask a question. I want you to respond right away so that I know that you have logged on, you check this out, and that I can say, click, okay, you were there for as far as attendance purposes. And you don't have to log in when we have Tuesday, Thursday for English. You could go on Monday. I'll probably post the whole week on Monday. I think I'm going to try. I'm not sure if it's going to work out, and I'll try to get everything posted. And, you can go ahead and do your work right away and get it done. So the study guide for the first assignment, like I said, there's going to be this exit ticket, a question, and it might be something simple like, which act are we on? And right now we're going to start with Act 3. So there you go, that quick response. Which act are we looking at? Act 3. Okay, so it's a quick response. This first assignment that I'm going to give you is just to continue the study guide for Act 3. And then the next assignment this week, we'll finish Act 3, and then I'm going to, remember those sheets where it had the boxes, and then it asks you to analyze some quotes. So I'm going to have you analyze some quotes. You can't type on it, but once again, I might type it out and make it easier for you so you can type right on it. So it'll be also some analysis. So we're looking at analysis. That's going to be one of our focuses, so that you leave being able to analyze and that understanding comprehension of Shakespeare. Okay? So this isn't going to be difficult. It's not going to be any different than what we were doing in class. It's just, you're not going to be right there. We're not going to be in the same room. Okay? And if you have questions, I'll have office hours. It was posted. You can ask questions, email me, or go on Google Classroom and ask questions. And a lot of times those Google Classroom questions that everyone would be able to see, maybe it'll be helpful because then other people can also, hey, I had the same question. So then they can see it, and then I'll respond to that as well. But don't feel like you're alone, because if you have any questions, I'm going to respond. It may not be that very moment that you asked it, but I might try also some classroom discussion where I post a question and then you have to respond, or hey, you have to pose a question and everyone else has to respond, or someone else has to respond to your question. So I might do some things like that. We'll see what happens. I don't know. All right. So I'm going to do a quick review because it's been a while since we looked at Act 2. So the review, remember Duncan, King Duncan, did get killed by Macbeth. And remember, Macbeth killed him by Lady Macbeth, in a sense, drugged the drinks of the guards. And then once the guards, in a sense, had drifted off to sleep, then Macbeth went in to kill the king. And then when he killed the king, remember he made that major mistake where he forgot to bring the daggers back. So then Lady Macbeth had to return the daggers. And remember, her whole bit of advice is just wash your hands and it'll all go away. And let's just forget about it and this will all go away. So then we have the porter scene, where in the porter scene, the porter was pretending like he was opening the door to hell. It was comic relief. And so then it was Macduff and Lennox, and they went to go get the king. Surprise, surprise, king is dead. And so then when Macbeth goes with Lennox to check out the dead king, out of rage, he kills the guards. Good job, Macbeth. Because then either he was so upset that his lovely king was dead, or, hey, now I don't have anyone that can be questioned. Or maybe they witnessed something. So the guards are now dead. We have Malcolm and Donalbain, which are the king's, dead kings, King Duncan's sons. And remember that Malcolm was made the Prince of Cumberland, and so he was supposed to be the next king if something happened to Duncan, or Duncan stepped down. Well, Malcolm and Donalbain are like, hey, I don't trust any of these people. So Malcolm and Donalbain took off. Malcolm went to England. Donalbain went to Ireland. And because of that, because they took off and they didn't let anyone know, then it makes it look like they are guilty of, in a sense, hiring or bribing the guards to kill their father. So now they are, in a sense, guilty of their father's death. But a lot of people don't necessarily think that. Macbeth now, of course, becomes the new king, and he was crowned. Macduff doesn't go to the crowning, which that becomes important just because Macbeth doesn't trust anyone who isn't, in a sense, fully supporting him. And the fact that Macduff doesn't go to the crowning does tell Macbeth that, hey, you didn't really support me. So that's the review. So we're starting with Act 3. Remember, where are we at right now? Act 3. So we're starting with Act 3. And on the study guide, the first question on the study guide is, why does Macbeth want Banquo and Fleance dead? Okay, so who is Banquo? Let's do a quick review. Remember, Banquo was another soldier that was with Macbeth when they met the witches. And remember, the prediction for Banquo was, you'll be happy but not so happy, those kind of things. But the one that was really important to Macbeth was, Banquo will not become a king, but your sons will be. Well, he has a son named Fleance. So his son's young, so this shouldn't be a big deal. It's not like Fleance is going to become king tomorrow. But Macbeth is very insecure, and he doesn't want any threat to his kingship. So, because he's a little wacky already, he's like, I don't really trust Banquo. In fact, I think he's maybe a little suspicious of me. But also, you have a son who could become king and threaten my kingship. So, okay. All right, here we go. Act 3, remember, Act 3, Act 3, Act 3. I don't know how loud this is, so we'll see what happens. Here we go.
Thou hast it now. King, Cawdor, Glamis, all as the weird women promised. And I fear thou playedst most foully for it. Yet it was said it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. If there come truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine, why, by the verities on thee made good, may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? But hush, no more. Thou hast it now.
Sorry, guys.
King, Cawdor.
I didn't.
Thou hast it now.
Okay, I'm going to talk for a minute. Because I couldn't remember how to use my CD player. Okay, so what Banquo's talking about here is he's like, a little convenient that now you got everything that the witch has said. But he says, I fear thou playedst most foully for it. So what does that tell us? Does he really think that he became king, that Macbeth became king in a fair way? Or is he suspicious? So he is suspicious. Now, he hasn't told Macbeth that, but maybe it isn't a bad idea that Macbeth wants to kill him. Okay, so that was the beginning. So now we have Macbeth, Lady Macbeth, Lennox, Ross, lords, and attendants coming in. Now, this scene's kind of, I want you to think about this. So they are going to have this banquet that night. And Macbeth is going to talk to Banquo about, hey, you need to come to the banquet. Make sure you come to the banquet. You need to come to the banquet. Notice how many times he talks about this. But he also is going to ask Banquo, what are you doing tonight? Or what are you doing today? Is your son with you? Give me some specific details. Okay? We'll talk about that.
Here's our chief guest.
If he had been forgotten, it had been as a gap in our great feast, and awfully unbecoming.
Tonight we hold a solemn supper, sir, and I'll request your presence.
Let your highness command upon me, to the which my duties are with a most indissoluble tie forever knit.
Ride you this afternoon?
Aye, my good lord.
We should have else desired your good advice, which still hath been both grave and prosperous in this day's council. But we'll take tomorrow. Is far you ride?
As far, my lord, as will fill up the time twixt this and supper. Go not my horse the better, I must become a borrower of the night for a dark hour or twain.
Fail not our feast.
My lord, I will not.
We hear our bloody cousins are bestowed in England and in Ireland, not confessing their cruel parasite, filling the hearers with strange
our
invention.
bloody cousins.
But of that tomorrow, when therewithal we shall have cause of state craving us jointly. Are you to horse? Adieu, till you return at night. Goes Fleance with you?
Aye, my good lord. Our time does call upon us.
I wish your horses swift and sure of foot, and so I do commend you to their backs. Farewell. Let every man be master of his time till 7 at night. To make society the sweeter welcome, we will keep ourselves till supper time alone. While then, God be with you.
Okay, So I want you to think about this. Now he's planning to kill Banquo. And he's planning to kill Banquo when Banquo goes out to ride. But notice what he does here. He says, I would like to get some advice from you. Let's have a discussion tomorrow about that. Then he talks about Malcolm and Donalbain, and we need to figure out what we're going to do about them. Let's talk about it tomorrow. And make sure you show up for the banquet tonight. Why does he continually make plans for the future with him? And he is saying this in front of other people. He's like, let's do this tomorrow. Hey, I need your advice. Let's plan to meet tomorrow. Are you coming to the banquet tonight? You have to come to the banquet tonight. Notice he wants to make sure that everyone is hearing him, that, hey, I am making plans with Banquo in the future. But yet he's planning to have Banquo killed when he's riding. So when Banquo's killed, is it going to look like Macbeth had anything to do with it? Of course, he had plans with him in the future. You're not going to be the guilty person because you were planning to meet him tomorrow. You want him at the banquet. You had nothing to do with his murder. So he's doing that outwardly, making sure that everyone hears him because he doesn't want anyone to suspect him of being guilty for Banquo's death. So, okay. Then he said, everyone go separate, go do your own thing. We're not going to be together until the banquet tonight. So there's a reason. If you look ahead, he's going to meet some murderers. All right. So on the study guide, what is Macbeth's plan for killing Banquo and Fleance? Well, they're planning to go riding. And when they're riding, he, of course, is going to have these murderers that he's going to talk to. They're going to ambush Banquo and Fleance and kill them. And that's the plan. But then it says, does it work? Well, we don't know yet. We'll see in a minute. Okay. All right, so the attendant says, there are my lord without the palace. Oh, there are these people here. And then he's like, bring him in. But first he's going to have this little talk to himself here about the fact that, hey, I can't keep Banquo alive because he's got a son. And he could have more sons or he could have grandsons. And that could threaten my kingship. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, okay.
Sirrah, a word with you. Attend those men out, pleasure.
They are, my lord, without the palace gate.
Bring them before us. To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus.
So he's like, hey, I could be king. Yeah, but do I feel safe? So what good is that if I can't feel safe? Is he ever going to feel safe? Let's be real. He's probably never going to feel safe. You killed the king.
Fears in Banquo stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares. And to that dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valour to act in safety. There is none but he whose being I do fear, and under him my genius is rebuked. As it is said Mark Antony's was by Caesar, he chid the sisters when first they put the name of king upon me, and bade them speak to him. Then, prophet-like, they hailed him father to a line of kings. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown, and put a barren sceptre in my gripe, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. If it be so, for Banquo's issue have I filed my mind. For them the gracious Duncan have I murdered. put rancors in the vessel of my peace only for them.
It's like I didn't kill Duncan so that Banquo's sons could become king. Forget that. I killed him so I could be king. Like I said, remember, Lance is young, but in his mind, he feels like he could be a threat.
And mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man to make them kings, the seeds of Banquo kings. Rather than so, come, fate, into the list, and champion me to the utterance.
Okay, so here are 2 murders.
Who's there?
That's my title, 2 murders.
Now go to the door, and stay there till we call. Was it not yesterday we spoke together?
Okay, let me explain. So, he gets these 2 murders. And so what he's going to do with the murders, he apparently had a conversation with the murders yesterday. And so apparently what he's been telling the murders that, I'm going to give you an example in modern time. So let's say you wanted to get an apartment, and yet the problem is when you they checked your credit. You don't have any. Either you don't have any credit or you have bad credit. Can't get the apartment. Needed a car. Once again, checked your credit. Could get a car. Try to get a job. And when you try to get a job, apparently no one's going to hire you. I don't know why, but maybe one boss you didn't get along with. So now that boss is telling everyone that you're just a bad, poor worker, even though you might not be. So all these terrible things that are going on in your life, and you're like, oh my gosh, nothing is working out in my life. Well, that's the same thing with these two murders. Apparently, these murders have a pretty sad life, that nothing is working out in their life or their lives. And so and if in yours, you're like, okay, well, maybe I can blame that boss. But what about the credit? What about who knows? I don't know. Well, what Macbeth has done is he's talked to these murderers and he said, all those terrible things in your life that have occurred, remember when your mom kicked you out of the house? Remember when you were 7 and you fell and broke your leg? Okay. Remember all these terrible things in your life? All of them is Banquo's fault. So he's telling these murders that all these terrible things in their lives, all of these bad things that are occurring in their life, it's Banquo's fault. He's like out to get you guys. And so he has convinced them that Banquo is a bad guy and that he needs Banquo killed. And hey, you guys, those murderers, it's like you guys need him killed too, because your life is going to improve if we get rid of Banquo. And then he'll say, you know what, I could have killed him because I am king and I have a lot of power. But, we have friends in common, so, I can't really do that because I am the king and I don't want people to get upset with me and I don't want to cause problems. But hey, I'll pay you and this will help you. And I'll help you in your life. We'll get rid of Banquo. Okay, these guys are idiots. And they fall for it. But he's also going to try another skill, another ploy that he learned, possibly from his wife.
It was, so please your highness.
Well then, now have you considered of my speeches? Know that it was he, in the times past, which held you so under fortune, which you thought had been our innocent self. This I made good to you in our last conference. Passed in probation with you how you were borne in hand, how crossed. The instruments, who wrought with them, and all things else that might to half a soul and to a notion crazed say, thus did Banquo.
You made it known to us.
I did so. And went further. which is now our point of second meeting. Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Are you so gospelled to pray for this good man and for his issue, whose heavy hand hath bowed you to the grave and beggared yours forever?
We are men, my liege.
Aye, in the catalogue ye go for men, as hounds and greyhounds, mongrels, spaniels, curs, shuffs, water rugs, and demi-wolves are clept all by the name of dogs.
Notice, he asks them, do you think you could handle this? Are you a real man? Hey, where did he learn that? Lady Macbeth tried this with him. He fell for it, so he's doing the same thing with them. And they're even like, we are men. We are men. We can do it. Yeah, remember? I said that works every time. So now he's comparing them. But what type of man? And then he talks about dogs. There are many different types of dogs, but what kind of dog are you? Are you like a little chihuahua? Or are you like a German shepherd or a pit bull? What kind of dog are you? And so now he's comparing men to dogs.
Valued file distinguishes the swift, the slow, the subtle, the housekeeper, the hunter, every one according to the gift which bounteous nature hath in him closed, whereby he does receive particular addition from the bell that writes them all alike. And so of men. Now, if you have a station in the file, not in the worst rank of manhood, and I will put that business in your bosoms whose execution takes your enemy off, grapples you to the heart and love of us, who were our health but sickly in his life, which in his death were perfect.
I am one, my liege, whom the vile blows and buffets of the world have so incensed that I am reckless what I do to spite the world.
And I another, so weary with disasters, tugged with fortune, that I would set my life on any chance to mend it or be rid on't.
Both of you know Banquo was your enemy.
True, my lord.
So is he mine, and in such bloody distance that every minute of his being thrusts against my nearest of life. And though I could, with barefaced power, sweep him from my sight and bid my will avouch it, yet I must not. For certain friends that are both his and mine, whose loves I may not drop, but wail his fall, who I myself struck down. And thence it is that I to your assistance do make love, masking the business from the common eye for sundry weighty reasons.
We shall, my lord, perform what you command us.
So our lives...
Oh, your spirit shine through you. Within this hour at most, I will advise you where to plant yourselves. Acquaint you with the perfect spy, the time, the moment on't, for it must be done tonight, and something from the palace. Always thought that I require a clearness. And with him, to leave no rubs, nor botches in the work. Fleance, his son that keeps him company, whose absence is no less material to me than is his father's, must embrace the fate of that dark hour.
So he's saying, hey, we have to do this tonight or before tonight while they're writing. And he's like, hey, I really know that you are planning to just kill Banquo, but his son Fleance is with. You might as well kill him as well. Doesn't seem to bother me if you kill him. So he's like, you'll be planting yourselves, in other words, out waiting until Banquo and Fleance ride by, and then jump on him, kill him. Okay? That's the plan.
Yourselves apart, I'll come to you anon.
We are resolved, my lord.
I'll call upon you straight. Abide within. It is concluded. Banquo, thy soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight.
Okay. So the next scene is the palace. It's Macbeth, Lady Macbeth is talking to a servant, and then Macbeth is going to come in. So Lady Macbeth is going to tell him that he needs to, in a sense, kind of calm down, relax. And once again, he has not been telling Lady Macbeth about his plans. And so he doesn't tell her about the fact that he is going to have Banquo killed. But he does tell her that, oh, I'm so bothered by Banquo. Banquo's still alive. And she's like, well, he's not going to live forever. And he's like, no kidding. But he doesn't tell her. So
Has Banquo gone from court?
Aye, madam, but returns again tonight.
Say to the king I would attend his leisure for a few words.
she
Madam,
wants
I will.
to talk to Banquo, or she wants to talk to
Not
Macbeth.
had, all spent, where our desire is got without content. 'Tis safer to be that which we destroy than by destruction dwell in doubtful joy.
So remember, she was the one that we need to kill the king. I think that Macbeth should be king. But now she's saying not's had all spent where our desire is got without content. She's like, I can't even be happy. I'm not content. Because part of it is, if you know you've done something incredibly wrong, how do you feel? Guilty. But remember, what was her advice? Just forget about it. Forget about it. Wash your hands. It's going to go away. Obviously, she can't follow her own advice because she's not content. And apparently, Macbeth isn't either. Well, it's obvious. He thinks he needs to kill Banquo and Fleance.
Ah, now, my lord, why do you keep alone? Of sorriest fancies your companions making, using those thoughts which should indeed have died with them they think on. Things without all remedy should be without regard. What's done is done.
We have Scott.
Let's be real. She doesn't believe that. Think about, remember all of those questions that we talked about in the beginning, that little debate we had. Remember, those are all themes that are coming up. So look at what is developing right now. Should it be listened to Lady Macbeth? Guilt, his fate. Can you do something without feeling guilty? What is his fate going to be because of the decisions that he's made? And now Lady Macbeth, this was her decision as well. How was she feeling?
The snake, not killed it. She'll close and be herself, whilst our poor Malice remains in danger of her former tooth. But let the frame of things disjoint both the worlds suffer. Ere we will eat our meal in fear and sleep in the affliction of these terrible dreams that shake us nightly.
He's saying that both he and Lady Macbeth are having nightmares. They can't sleep. Remember when he was killing Duncan and he